Hello there, dear listener, viewer, bird and metal appreciator, and thank you for joining us for the November 2025 edition of Metal Albums with Birds on the Cover. This is the show that I, your pal Minsk, make talking about recent albums that feature birds on the cover, and the music is metal. You might dispute some of my choices, and that's totally fine. But and sometimes on the choice of bird as well. But sure. And should be good. November may be the most metal month of the year, and I mean that in the sense that it is the darkest and dreariest, I think. Well, on the hemisphere that I live on, and especially the conditions I live in. This year's November has been dark and gray and wet and grimy, and yeah, if I wanted to film a doom metal or black metal or I don't know, some other like dreary, probably like a grunge album too, like a music video, this would be a great time for that. But it doesn't mean we can't enjoy some good music. And in fact, before we jump into the albums of this month, as I've had a pretty hot streak now, and it's gonna, spoiler alert, still continue for December as well, we do have a concert report to give here. So let's have a chat about a really cool concert I went into November, and some recommendations for bands that, yeah, I think live are pretty sick, spoiler alert. So this was another band that was basically on my bucket list, or not on the bucket list of things to do before I kick the bucket, but actually before the band kicks the bucket. Like, I've tried to make sure lately that I've seen some bands that I've never seen before that are getting along in the years, shall we say. I think, yeah, the death of Ozzy, really also really recontextualized that. Sad. It was sad, but also kind of made me yeah, I gotta make sure some of these bands I've never seen take care of them. In this case, it was Germany's power metal legend Helloween, who were coming to Finland for their 40th anniversary tour here at the Helsinki Ice Hall. They made a great show at the start of November. And yeah, this wasn't originally my plan, actually. This was from my niece came the recommendation to go, or the request to go along with her and my nephew, because they had a really cool warm-up band as well, Beast in Black. And that was what the kids were into. And I'm phrasing that like I wasn't no, that's not true, because I've seen Beast in Black once. That's why I was it was lower priority, but it's a pretty cool band, Beast in Black as well. So certainly I was okay, yeah, no, well, I'll do that. I will go see Beast in Black and Helloween, because again, especially Helloween, I have been listening to quite a long time, and I just haven't had a chance to see them yet. I was probably 10 years ago when I was actually first thinking oh, okay, another Helloween's finally coming to Finland, whenever that was, that tour at the time. And I was ooh, I should probably go see them, because that's another one of them old 80s bands. Who knows how long they're still going to be kicking around. And, well, thankfully, they kicked around for at least 10 years more, since that's how long it took me to make this happen. But, yes, it's very good. So, let's talk about Beast in Black first, since, we went to the Helsinki Ice Hall. It was quite nicely full already for Beast in Black, and I think, I don't think it was entirely sold out, because I'm pretty sure there were still some tickets available, but there was a good crowd on the ice field, and the stands were also pretty stuffed. We were in a stand in one of the far corners, but thankfully Helsinki Ice Hall isn't massive, so it was still a fine spot to watch the show from, even on rather on the further end. So yeah, Beast in Black. I'm a recent convert. It was their third album, Dark Connection, that made me mark out. Before that, I was okay, this is fine power metal. I knew about it. It was Anton Kabanen's second band after he left Battle Beast. under circumstances, I don't really know. I never know what happened exactly there, because he like left that band and immediately made what sounds like the exact same band. So, but I don't think there's any bad blood with them, these bands or whatever. And they're both fine. So yeah, but yeah, Beast in Black at first I was like, well, it's just got a fun, all right power metal. I don't know. But then they started putting all the like goofy synthwave and 90s Eurobeat influences into their music in Dark Connection, and I just like I made like one of those like head flips like like yeah, so that's a fantastic album. So that's when I went to see them like a year after that came out, and my first time. And was still very fresh seeing them today. In fact, obviously they'd come out with a couple new songs since then, including the amazing song "Power of the Beast," which One Night in Tokyo was like, as I mentioned, very like Eurobeat influenced power metal from their previous album. And I was wondering, like, are they going to keep this streak up, or are they going to like dial it back down and go back for like more straightforward power metal? And then Power of the Beast came out, and no, they just went even harder. That's basically just a Eurobeat song. Like, I honestly, I challenge you to like disagree with me. Like, listen to Power of the Beast and just tell me that's not just a really pumping Eurobeat song. Oh man. So, but that for me, that's fantastic. I love that music. So, So all this is to say that I went to the tour, and that's the first song they kicked off. I was like, no way, the first song? Like, yeah, so they all exploded on the stage with this hilarious song. Lots of great energy to start with. Pretty nice, like, set for a warm-up band, like they had like a pretty big stage to walk around on, and some Beast in Black props there set up to the sides and everything, so pretty good stuff. And full of energy, these guys. Yannis Papadopoulos, a credible singer, as he's shown off by now on all of the albums, like he's doing. Some of you might be fooled, like oh, there's like a female vocalist on this song providing backing vocals, and nope, it's just Yannis doing like going really amazingly soft and high with his voice, and then like switching up. And other band was pretty on fire too. Although I don't know, I feel like they were a little bit. How should I put this? Like, they were competent and they really played really well. Yannis was great, and the drummer Atte did a good job. And they had a new guy on deck. They had Daniel Freiberg, who is a cool guitarist. Like, he was in Children of Bodom during their last few years, and before that he's been in Norther. And so he's like, I checked this, he's a touring guitarist right now. So I guess he's replacing. Well, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm checking my notes again. Right, Kasperi Heikkinen actually has left the band, I believe. So Daniel is backing for him while I guess they're looking for a new guy. My opinion, Mr. Freiberg did a fine job, So that would be my vote for new band member, I'd say. But anyway, they were all great. I thought they weren't particularly like showing off or like strutting really hard or playing up to the crowd. I feel like that was mostly on the singer Yannis' shoulders to like hype up the crowd. And I thought the crowd was, I don't know, maybe it's just because I was in the stands far away, but it looked like the crowd was a little bit sedate. There was a lot of like fist pumping in the air, but it wasn't like a huge part of the like crowd around the stage. And anything particularly like. I thought the pops were fine, but I do think they warmed up a little bit, the crowd, eventually. Like they started to get into the swing. I do think Beast in Black is a really good complementary band for Helloween. They both, you can, if you're like a real like aficionado, like you can be like, oh yeah, no, there's different vibes with these, but there's also a lot of similarity in the like kind of just like fun tone that these guys put into power metal. Like it's just got like a real fun and fast frenetic energy. So with some crazy guitar work. So I do think it was a good choice. I have to also give props to Beast in Black for not really playing up the fact that they were a warm-up band all that much. First of all, their show was a colossal 90 minutes. That's a really impressive run for a band to be just setting up another band this way. But like, yeah, and also like they barely talked about this and them being there for Helloween. They talked about this being like part of their tour and like their 10th anniversary and like, you know, all the like energy they're bringing people and, you know, their opportunities. And honestly, I appreciate that confidence. That was kind of cool that they didn't like play it up too much that, you know, you guys are just here to see Helloween, right? Well, you know, just let's have fun with us for a minute. Like, no, they treated it as their own proper concert. And with 90 minutes, you got the whole gamut of their 3 albums, you know, pretty much all the hits from Dark Connection, my favorite, and all the songs that I recognize from their older work that they, you know, fit in there very nicely. And of course, what is it? Into the Behelit is the like actual Berserk, like official, like given the blessing of the like Berserk people song that they recently made. That was a crowd pleaser for sure. So yeah, really good stuff. They did, of course, mention Helloween on the last speech. They were like, big thanks to Helloween, and I hope you guys have a good time. So, you know, but pretty popping. Very good. Beast in Black is gunning really strong at the moment. So definitely, I can mention them. They were mentioning a new album, the 4th album, supposed to be coming next year. So definitely that will probably result in another tour. And I would recommend seeing these mad lads, unless the 4th album sucks for some reason, in which case, I don't know. But that seems a little unlikely with how hot their streak is at the moment. I don't know. And let's also hope there's a bird somewhere in there. They prefer big leonine beast creatures, so less likely of getting a bird in there, but certainly not in like a starring role, I don't expect. But you never know. But yeah. So, let's then talk about Helloween. Like, excellent, absolute, old school, classic pillars of power metal. I love these guys. I've been a big fan, as I mentioned, for probably 20 years. I don't know, like definitely in my teenage years. At some point, like, I found Keeper of the Seven Keys and like, oh, this is so cool. So, yeah. After a half-hour break, they brought up a big old curtain to set up their big set. And immediately, again, also, if Power of the Beast was a great opening, so was this opening. So they had a huge, like digital screen to show off some fun visuals in the background, and also, like, around the, sides of the stage. They had, like, the drummer, Daniel Löbel was set up on this humongous drum set on this raised, like, platform. And it not the craziest stage dressing once again, but really, really like nicely extravagant for such an old 40-year-old band to play on. And yeah, like they kicked off with a fun little animation with all of their albums descending from the heavens down into like this field. And while that was playing, I was actually listening, that sounds like a symphonic version of March of Time. And sure enough, once things kicked off, the guys all exploded on stage with March of Time as their first song. What a perfect first song for a 40th anniversary tour after all the hype up. Not just because it's a fantastic song, but again, the theme there is so solid. So, yeah, I mean, what can you say about such a accomplished band? They have now 2 lead vocalists here. Kai Hansen, Kai Hansen is the guitarist, my bad. Michael Kiske and Andy Darris have basically teamed up. They're just like, yeah, why the hell not? Let's just let's just us play together here. Why the hell not? And they have. I mentioned Kai Hansen, like a guitar legend there, is providing guitar work. They also, like, they have 3 guitarists all together. They also have, Michael Vykoth there, and then newer guy, but I checked that he's been there for 20 years as well, but still newer guy, Sasha Gerstner, also providing. And you can't really say that any of them is the lead guitarist or the, like, rhythm guitarist, because they trade off roles so much, and, like, everybody gets to show off at some song as they're playing. But anyway, like, huge crazy energy as like all these, like, incredibly talented musicians just explode on the stage to like perform. And March on Time had both Michael Kiske and Andy Darris singing, and all 3 guitarists just going nuts. And Markus Grosskopf is the bassist, who is also very talented. And it was just like, oh man, this is what I've been waiting for. This is so cool that they started off with that and then played. Even better, only like 3 songs into that set, like, it was, like, amazing. Freaking, like, they, after introducing themselves, like, they didn't, after hyping up themselves, Michael Kiske and Andy Darris, they just go, Mr. Kai Hansen, and the freaking spotlight moves on to Hansen, and, like, he just starts a little show-off guitar solo, just some free soloing there. And then he switches to, he switches to Hall of the Mountain King, a classic favorite of, like, guitarists to, like, show off. So, like, this is so fun listening to him play that classic tune. And, like, then the rest of the band shows up as he suddenly switches up, as I realize he is playing the tune from Future World. And that's my favorite Helloween song, and that's the 3rd song they play. Like, oh my god, that was so freaking awesome that, like, after this amazing guitar soloing, they just transitioned to that. Like, as I was, like, realizing what's going on, like, as, like, little futuristic kind of cyberpunky, like, or digital looking shapes, like, appear all over the screens around them, and the, like, jamming starts. Like, oh, freaking amazing. Like, at some point in my life, I've said, my nephews reminded me of this. I've said that Future World is my favorite song altogether. I don't know if I sign off on that today, because it's so hard to say what's your favorite song, and, like, Helloween isn't my favorite band. It's a pretty high up there band for me. I'm very fond of them, but, like, yeah, not my favorite. But I would say Future World is my favorite song from them. It's like hope posting in music form. It's just such a, like, feel good, like, put your worries aside song. It's so nice. And you could feel that with the crowd too. Like, once the crowd also realized what was happening, like, they sang, like, so much together. Like, there were huge, like, all right, now you sequences, and the crowd just, like, was 100% into it at that point. It was a great choice there. Well, that continued on. Like, I won't, like, go into too much details further here, because those were just my highlights of how great an opening that was. They had a new album come out just recently, Giants and Monsters, so they slipped in quite a few songs from there, and they were fine. They were, like, people really enjoyed those as well. I really took them very well. And then, but it mixed up with all of their, like, classic songs. And there was fun stuff going on the screen. Like I mentioned, they had, like, a big old screen that would often, the lights would go dim as some crazy intro would play, and then a hype song would begin. The Keeper would show up on a couple times on the screen and give, like, a goofy, like, monologue, including they recorded a special one on his first appearance. He's just like, "Greetings, Pumpkinheads of Finland," which predictably caused a huge pop from the crowd, so that was fun. And yeah, what can I say? Like, this band is 40 years in, really strong still with their, like, work. Like, I thought they were really, like, fired up, and they were really going through this huge set. And two exceptions, I guess. I thought Michael Kiske specifically. Like, which one of the 2 lead singers? Like, yeah, Michael Kiske, I thought he was a little bit out of energy by the final, like, by the encore. maybe I was projecting my own lack of energy. I don't know, but like I thought like some of the like punchiness in his singing was a little bit gone. Went a little bit more straightforward to songs of the like final few songs. And also, I didn't notice this, but my niece said that apparently Michael Vyckoff was a little bit out of it. Like he was apparently, but I wasn't paying a ton of attention, unfortunately, to him. But he apparently was also like not like going as nuts on the stage as everybody else. So he was a lot more just like, let me get through this guitar playing, God damn it. If my niece saw it correctly. Again, I can't verify. I didn't particularly notice that, but the other guys, yeah, I thought insane. Like there was a groovy drum solo from Daniel Löbel. Like he was not tired at all as he went through it. And Kai Hansen, you know, I mixed up and I was saying he was the vocalist. That's because, you know, he sang vocals on their first album, Walls of Jericho. And sure enough, like they played a couple songs from there, Ride the Sky and Heavy Metal is the Law, and he still sang those. Like the other two guys like pieced out at that point to like, I don't know, they joked about smoke breaks, so maybe, I don't know. But anyway, like he took care, despite having done some crazy guitar virtuoso stuff that night. He like just like, all right, let me play rhythm for this song and also just freaking sing and it'll be fine. And it was incredible, like hearing those old songs with him on vocals, like on top of two really talented power metal singers. So like, wow. And yeah, like the energy I got was that everybody has a moment to shine in this band, even though there's 7 guys running around on stage. Like, you know, when I Want Out came out, like of course, another big crowd pleaser, like, oh yeah, here we go. The kind of breakdown after the solo before the final chorus, they let Markus Grosskopf, like the bassist, kind of shine for a minute there with a little bass-like riff that I don't think is in the actual recorded song, but like really stuck out during that, like, you know, breakdown sequence or like slowdown, whatever you want to call it, because this isn't metalcore, but you know, the little like build up before the final chorus, like he was just showing off suddenly with like a really cool like bass line, and like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. And Eagle Fly Free, which was the first encore song, like I never even noticed this, but like there's like a really good at the end of the song where like different elements of the band like get to have like a little bit of like a solo part. Like there's a guitar sequence, a bass sequence, and even like the drums get to like pop off. So that was amazing, like how the spotlight just flashed from guy to guy to like show off like you know, all the band members. Like that was like, whoa, that's so clever. But yeah, it was really cool presentation. I will say the one screen thing that was very silly was Helloween, which was the last song before the encore, which another cool, the Keeper appears and speaks a really cool little soliloquy there. Enjoyed it. And then we cut to Helloween and a bunch of like what looked like PNGs of black and white ghosts float around on the screen. It had very much the energy of a, like, you know, first GeoCities page, like moving GIFs thing. And it was kind of like, that was kind of chortling, but also charming in a way for how kind of goofy this band ultimately is. It's amazing, but also goofy. And, you know, but it's also like Helloween is like a pretty hard-hitting, like incredible prog song. So it just kind of weird, kind of like, oh my God, Helloween. Oh dear, goofy PNG ghosts. Oh dear. And then, oh, okay, now cool playing. Never mind. Whatever. But also amazing go to an encore. As I mentioned, Eagle Fly Free, of course, the encore song. And like, you know, if you want to talk about amazing album intros and amazing like album like transfers from the intro to the song, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2's opening with Invitation going into Eagle Fly Free is like an all-timer. So of course they play the album intro while what looks like a laser pointer draws the 40th anniversary logo on the like big screen. And then, you know, once, once that's over, you know what's coming. Everybody just explodes back on the stage with Eagle Fly Free. It was like, oh, beautiful. So good. So good. Now, my other last comment, and this is a real case of it was just too good. But I really do have to say it at this point. I said that Beast in Black played for an hour and a half, which is pretty good for for a warm-up band. Well, being the main event, Helloween played for 2 hours and 15 minutes, so I was actually kind of exhausted in the encore. Eagle Fly Free, I was like, fuck yeah. But still after that, there were 2 songs, Power and Dr. Steen. And Dr. Steen's fine, but I was pretty wasted by that point. I was still yeah, Dr. Steen is funny creatures, but I was yeah. And after that, they jumped into the final chorus of the song, Keeper of the Seven Keys. And I respect that decision. I will say I would love to hear the actual full Keeper of the Seven Keys being played. It's a fantastic song, but it is 13 minutes long. So after 2 hours, 15 minutes, and, Beast in Black on top of that, I don't know if I could have sat for 15 more minutes for that whole shindig. So I respect that choice. Instead, after Dr. Steen seemed to be winding down, they exploded into the final chorus of Keeper of the Seven Keys, which final big pop from the crowd. The Keeper himself appeared again on the screen to kind of conduct a chorus. It was cute, and it was over. And yeah, I'm glad it didn't go on for another 15 minutes, honestly. So hey, something to look forward to when they come next time, if hopefully there still is a next time. I'm certainly hopeful. But yeah, definitely. After so long waiting to see Helloween, I can safely say this was what you could ask for. Very few complaints from me. I will say for both bands as a big wrap up. Less for Helloween, more for Beast in Black. I do kind of wish the band would have a proper keyboardist. Helloween has some keyboardy sections, but they're more obviously guitar virtuoso focused. That's fine. Beast in Black, the keyboards are such a huge part, and the interplay between them and the guitar work is so, central to their sound and their music. It's kind of unfortunate that it only comes on a backing track. I do kind of wish that, they just had an actual keyboardist in the band. So I hope at some point they, find somebody to, do that, live as well. That would be really fantastic. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, no, these great. Big recommendations for both bands to see them. If at all you enjoy power metal or old school 80s metal, these guys are still on fire and worth it. Oh gosh, that's the longest, I think, preamble I've ever done on this show. I do apologize. I know I said in some past episode I tried to keep these shorter, but what can I do when there's so much to say about these cool concerts? So, yeah. But yeah, that's it, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now we shall move on to the meat and potatoes of the show. Here come the albums that have some birds on them. Enjoy! Alrighty then, we shall get this month started with the French power metal band Darktribe and their 4th album, Forgotten Reveries. Never heard of this band before, so delightful opportunity to check it out, yes? I gotta say, though, this is not a promising start for this month when it comes to album covers, because I'm not a huge fan of this album cover. I don't know. I might be too rough or what. Well, let's talk about it. First of all, the birds are the flocks of birds that are in silhouettes there to the left and the right of the clock there. Not a lot to say there, because already I'm like, I don't think there needed to be those birds. It looks a little odd how there's just 2 little packs on both sides, and just, I don't know. They don't really add anything to me, in my mind, to this image all that much. I don't know. I'm trying to think about flock of birds gives life to the image, but there's already these ghost figures here, kind of providing something. So yeah, and then the image itself is, well, look, I'll say it's a cool. I do like the juxtaposition of how like kind of gloomy the rest of the image is, and then the like big glowing gap there in the crack at the bottom of the clock provides you like a nice big like kind of like light. So that's a big contrast. The imagery of walking into this portal inside this clock is interesting, you know. Like sure, I can dig this image to some extent for sure, but and I can also understand that it's quite an abstract image, of course. Like it's a giant clock in the middle of a wasteland, and people are walking into some kind of portal in it. Sure, but I don't know. Something about the grainy, washed-out vibes of it just doesn't, and the concept just doesn't hit me that hard. Okay. On the other hand, like it seems to be a deliberate choice for sure to like have this gloomy world, but kind of like you lose some details. Like if you look really carefully, the big cracks in the middle of the clock, I think that looks like flowers are blooming out of there. There's like these little bushes with flowers growing out of them, but those are really hard to spot due to how desaturated everything here is. And yeah, it's a very abstract image. I know I'm kind of bad at like interpreting these and also like judging them, but like I don't know what is going on because there's these two solid figures walking into the portal, but then there's this crowd of ghosts following along behind. I don't know. I feel kind of bad here, like ripping on this image a little bit, because like it's clearly taking a shot here, but I don't think it was executed to my liking. Now, to make up for that, I will laud this album though, because I was really delighted by it. It's a power metal album that like really kind of does keep going on and keeping up its good momentum and keeping you happy. I was really delighted. Specifically, this does call to mind Sonata Arctica or Stratovarius, that kind of high-flying, high-energy, and also like high vocals kind of power metal. Although there are some modern metal elements in here that I'll mention a bit, but I will mention sometimes the guitars do go for a more kind of down-tuned energy there for sure. So like it's not entirely those two bands that I just mentioned, but yes, the kind of high-flying power metal energy is palpable here. The inspirations are pretty obvious. I would say it starts off rather symphonic, actually. Like symphonic power metal comes to mind. It's 11 songs for 50 minutes. The first song's an intro, so there's really 10 quote-unquote proper songs on this album. And after that kind of symphonic intro, we launch into a song which has, big orchestra energy there in the background. There are ominous church bells, and there are, string sequences as well, and keyboard sequences. It has, I think the first half of the album definitely, I think I can call a symphonic power metal album, and it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. The guitar work is fast and frenetic, but also varied. There's pump up high energy, good vibes, and then there's slightly more reserved songs also with some darker vibes to it. All sorts of cool stuff going on here, and the vocals. I think the vocals are maybe the weakest part of the band here, and they're fine, but they're rather standard, those kind of high-sung power metal vocals. They don't feel quite as powerful as some of those other bands I just mentioned, some of these alumni of big power metal acts. They get the job done, but I didn't feel them pop off as hard as the instruments in this album do. But yeah, what's interesting is that the album seems to transition towards a more modern power metal sound, as I mentioned. The further you go, the symphonic elements disappear, and instead you get those kind of retro modern keyboard sequences where there's really high-flying synth work that brings to mind some kind of more electronic sounding band that a lot of power metal or heavy metal bands in general nowadays feature. speaking of, our two openings, the two bands I talked about in my concert review opening, it's like this band starts out from the Helloween region and then moves into Beast in Black's more modern kind of retro future vibe energy here, and it's kind of interesting to listen to. So it's delightful. Particularly, I think a song like Reality song Kings in the Sand towards the end had some real cool, some really crazy guitar work, but also like some fun interplay with the keyboards that have now transformed into this like more modern electronic sound. It's quite good. It's not it's not entirely perfect, and I'm not sure I needed there to be like you could have maybe like taken one or two songs out that I think dragged a little bit. Ghost Memories around the halfway point was a bit of a dip, and I think the final song, Son of Illusion, they wanted to go for a big progressive, slower, emotional ballady piece, and I don't think that was the right energy to end this album off, especially because the previous song is also like the second longest song on the album. I think it would have worked fine without maybe that final song there. So that's me personally thinking. But I will say that overall it still is a very consistent album that has very cool vibes throughout it, and it is quite pleasurable to listen to if you like this kind of high-flying power metal energy at all. I think this is a really good representative of that genre. I've snuck in once more a Dungeon Synth album for us to look at. Huzzah! This is Golden Plover and their album Green as Moss, A Golden Adventure. So Dungeon Synth, this is I think the third time we're taking a look at this oddball genre of music. I think it was June or May 2025 when I first listened to one of these on the show, and I explained why, despite this not really being metal music, it has its roots in the black metal genre and therefore is still kind of connected and like surprisingly well regarded in metal circles, even though it really has evolved into something that is pretty hard to call metal music in a traditional sense, but still I feel like is worth talking about on the occasion here on this show. So let's do it. A golden plover is in fact a real-life bird. So I imagine that's what we are seeing here. It's it's such a cartoony bird in this image that it's not super accurate to what the golden plover in real life is like, but it's kind of got the eye and the beak. It's getting there for sure. The golden plover, in fact, there's several different golden plovers when I went into a search engine to just double check these. So there are several of them depending on what part of the world they exist in. The one that I, of course, am best aware of is the European golden plover, because it is the one that is found also in Finland, and I have, in fact, encountered them on occasion. In particular, there's been at least one occasion where I've been hiking on the fells in Lapland, and these guys have been hanging out up there in the, like, above the tree line in the rocky escarpment part of the fells, and they have an interesting kind of haunting little squeak of a cry, I suppose. When I say haunting, I guess it also, like, sounds like some kind of fire alarm or something, I don't know. But, like, I think they're lovely. I think they're pretty cool. So, cool little bird choice here to have the name of the damn project even. That's fun. And while we're on the topic, this image is great. It's cute for sure, incredibly hecka cute, but it's really like a fun little cartoony image of this guy. Like this. Look, it's wearing a little wizard hat, this plover in the image, and it's having a good time. There's a really nice, like, subtle, balance of two colors here as well. It's primarily green this world, going with the moss theme, including the plover itself apparently has gotten a bit mossy overall. But you'll notice all those little mushrooms scattered all over, then balance out the green with a little bit of brownish red. so that and the way they're scattered all over, like, really nicely, like, spreads that color out. So this is really, really, really well done. Not to mention the foliage, all the, like, different ferns and plants are very nicely drawn so that you can recognize them, but still they have a little unique standout vibe to them. And the environments, yeah, this is a really, really good album cover, so I'm very much delighted by it. You can probably guess why I fast-tracked this one to talk about it here, even if the, like, genre choice was a little iffy, because this is such a delightful little image of this Plover guy hanging out on there. Look, they got a cute little step ladder as well. Come on now, that's fun. Musically, if we talk about the actual synthy synth here, it's fine. I maybe was a little bit more enthused for the image this time than the music itself. No, but it was fine. It was fine. It's a very cutesy kind of dungeon synth for sure. Like the theme is I guess it's this bird going on a little adventure here or something, because it talks about finding your way in the world, venturing into the unknown and whatnot. So I imagine that's kind of the framing devices, and the titles of the songs also kind of imply steps on an adventure. So it's got for sure like kind of playful whimsy, like very often. It also very much leans into that kind of medieval instrument kind of vibe of often dungeon synth. So it's got that medieval energy. It's got the like 90s, it's not MIDI, but it's got the energy of like 90s PC games, like medieval fantasy MIDI vibes going on here for sure. That is an acquired taste, but I think it's cute. There's a couple more mysterious songs, and there's just a couple of really playful ones that, like, a good balance of like different moods for sure in there, I'd say. I'd say the major problem with this album is that it's not a particularly long album. It's 7 songs, where they're all of them less than 4 minutes long. So like it definitely is. It's like half an hour tops. And I'd say this might be a bit of a problem with the chill genre in general. But I'd say it just kind of ends all of a sudden. Like if we have this like journey theme to this music, I feel like it kind of like goes on for a bit and wraps up. Like the final song is called A Final Rest in the Mossy Nest Before the Next Adventure. But I did not have any kind of like finality, even if like temporary finality before going on the next adventure. It just sounded like another like kind of atmospheric, moody song and just kind of wrapped up there. So I was like, oh, okay, this ended. Okay. So it's all right. Like there's decent variety, but I didn't like kind of like mark out hugely at it, the actual music. But again, it seems like a pretty good intro to this genre. So if my ramblings about dungeon synth have caught your fancy at all, this one might be a good one to try out. Next up, we are listening to a re-release of a seminal metal album that is celebrating its 30th anniversary. This is the band Skepticism, a pioneer of funeral doom metal, and their first album, Stormcrowfleet. So I say this is seminal, but it's interesting as I'm now just hearing this. It really is fascinating how, well, okay, on one hand, I guess, like you really can, like, when a genre is far enough away from your wheelhouse, you really can, like, miss these, like, landmark works. On the other hand, it's entirely possible that also I'm just a clueless shut-in, and this is really showing my fake knowledge here, but I'd never ever heard of this album before, and I think I've heard Skepticism's name, but yeah, this album says nothing to me. But if you, like, look it up, like, it's got its own Wikipedia article that mentions that this is it is one of the most important releases of the genre, and this band is considered a pioneer of funeral doom. So yeah, either interesting to see these things slip by, or then a condemnation of me. Who knows? But whatever. Important thing is that now I'm listening to it. Very good. So yeah, you could probably debate me on the bird on this cover a little bit, I suppose, because it is a very abstract image, but I'm really, really positive that this is a bird that is pictured on the cover of this album here. Like, perhaps the word crow in the album title is making me be a bit biased, but I'm fairly certain this is a crow, and it's kind of like facing the viewer dead on, and the beak is kind of pointed rather straight. It's not kind of sloping downwards, which would make it much easier to tell that it's a bird, but rather it's like a front facial shot of a bird. So the beak is that kind of slightly lit up thing that's at the top, and I think the eye is to the right of it. So that's how it's facing you in my mind. And its body tapers down, so that's plumage you can see down there on the kind of center and to the left, So I'm fairly certain that's what we're looking at here, although it is very enigmatic. And that I mentioned that Wikipedia page, which does have a notification that it needs additional citations for verification, so this one apparently is not exactly an up-to-snuff Wikipedia page, but it does mention there's a part of the artwork that it plays very coy about what is going on. It just says, "The cover of the album was illustrated by the close-up of an object, which cannot be clearly identified in the picture alone. The photographs of branches and water surfaces in the same color used in the interior of the booklet indicate a corresponding object." So that's all that Wikipedia says, that it's a mysterious object. I don't know why it's phrased like that, but no, I want to make the bold claim here that there's a bird on this cover, a crow, that's looking at us, so feel free to tell me what you think it is if it's not, and if I'm wrong, but that's what we're going with. And it's a cool album cover. I think, again, the ambiguity certainly is kind of capturing your interest now, isn't it? And the lighting is really, really neat, that kind of glowing orange, kind of dim but also glowing, fascinating. Makes me feel like we're in the Tyrell Corporation headquarters in Blade Runner or something, where this crow is hanging out. But yeah, certainly also gonna fit the mood that we're about to get into, and let's talk about the actual music. So it's Funeral Doom. I know what I'm into when I hear that, which is long and drawn out and hypnotizing, droning kind of metal, and that's exactly what this is. Certainly, this is a great illustration of the genre. The shortest song on this album is a paltry 7 minutes, and it only goes longer from there, ending up at being a few minutes shy of an entire hour. Actually, honestly, I don't know. I guess I was primed for some kind of 17-minute juggernauts, but it's only from 7 to 12 minutes, so pretty reasonable by genre standards, I'd say. And I think it's a pretty good example of the genre. It's got a 90s Finnish band debut rawness to it, so it's not a particularly sharp sound. I think that serves it in making it kind of, ethereal, but it is kind of a very primal sound, and again, the guitar work is nothing crazy. It never is okay guys, let's jam. The guitar is there to deliver slow and deliberate and brooding and dark little riffs that often, you honestly get the feeling at times that the keyboards are the real star here. Feels like they provide the majority of the mood and atmosphere. It varies between some very 90s Casio keyboard simple sound, which amuses me, or very pipe organ-y to make it extra gothic. I do think it's the same Casio keyboard, but with the pipe organ setting on, but the point is that they switch up between these two sounds. And it all works to create quite a mesmerizing little piece. It is 6 songs, but it's I don't know, every one of them just kind of gets you hypnotized, I'd say. The vocals aren't particularly interesting, I don't think, but that's, I think, also again part of the brand. A lot of this genre music, it's 15-minute long song, and then there's maybe only 30 words of lyrics in the whole thing, and it's all very, very slow, in this case, it's like super low and growly and like so slow that you think it's like being like pitched somehow, slowed down. And it really, it isn't particularly interesting, but the point is, again, to just kind of lull you and hypnotize you in a way, just to add to that kind of like mantra that this music is. And it certainly creates a spellbinding effect. I can imagine that, yeah, maybe in like mid-90s, this was a pretty unique sound, I suppose, you know. It's like, you know, I mean, doom metal goes super old, obviously, going back to like Sabbath roots. But I think the concept of like pitching it down and slowing it down this much, and also like taking the like harsh vocals of other like way more ferocious genres and just like turning them even more syrupy, like I think it's probably all fairly novel. Yeah, but I don't want to like come down on this entire genre, because I do think that there's a couple examples of, I don't know if it's funeral doom or if it's death doom, I can't quite tell the nuances, but like I can think of similar music where it does hit me very well. The grandiosity is apparent, and it's interesting, and it's like really captivating and melodic, and the slowness really adds to it because slowness adds like this ponderous hugeness that just makes it that much more grander. So I don't think it's necessarily a detriment to have a giant 11-minute long song. All that said, despite this being a, again, seminal piece of the genre, I'm not sure I have a lot of energy to return to this one. It's all interesting and hypnotic, but it just doesn't like wow me, unfortunately, personally, all that much. That I think I'm just gonna have to give it a, you know, acceptive, appreciative nod at this point, and I don't think I'll be returning to at least this album. Maybe I'll check out Skepticism again someday, since this band is still active and whatnot, but this is probably going to be it for me. But maybe your curiosity will serve you better in listening to this classic piece. Next up, this is the Spanish death doom band Son of the Dying, with their third album, A Throne of Ashes. Interesting follow-up to immediately after Skepticism, because, yeah, I'm not sure exactly where the lineage between funeral doom and death doom exactly goes, but yeah, like, this is more comparable to Opeth and Swallow the Sun, I guess, comes more to mind as more famous contemporaries. You know, and I do think there's like a little bit of a difference between those, although I think like someone who's not super into the scene will probably be like, these are the same image, you know? But whatever, still, you know, let's see if we can feel this album out. But first, we'll talk about the bird. Pretty easy to find in the image. It's this silhouette of an eagle there at the, well, center top right there, above this burning house. You can see this shape. I gotta say, I don't really like the bird in this image. There's, I don't know, like, okay, well, first of all, I can't quite tell if it's like, if it's like sticking out of the fire, or if it's just kind of superimposed in front somehow. Like, I'm a little struggling to tell that. But in addition, it's just that the pose is a little wonky, and the way that the bird's possibly might be its right wing is kind of shaded a different color. I can't tell if the bird is like roosting on some kind of like stick or something, or if that is its other wing that's just kind of posed in that way. But anyway, it's just that this awkward pose and this like silhouette of it makes it a little hard to visually read, and I don't think it really works. Like, if that was the goal of the artist, then like, yeah, well done, okay, but like I don't really like the effect. Yeah, I'm sorry to say. Like, I do think overall this is a pretty cool album cover. The like two-tone colors of the like yellow of the fire and the like little like it reflected on the precipitation on the lens, so to speak. That's really cool. And you know, just that with the grayness of the world, I think it does look pretty cool. So I don't think it's a terrible image. And I think conceptually it's interesting, a throne of ashes, but the fire, it's just like a what looks like a simple hut in the woods instead of something grand, worthy of being called a throne, or not worthy, but like imagining that, what make you think something more regal and giant and pompous if you're talking about a throne, but it's just a house in the woods. So interesting stuff altogether. The mood is cool, the colors are cool, but yeah, I honestly think this image would have been better if we didn't have this bird silhouette superimposed on it. I'm happy to hear arguments for what exactly it represents, and if it indeed does add something to the themes and concepts here, then, I'm happy to hear that. There are 2 songs here, basically title-wise at least, leaning into this. The second song is called Blackbirds Beneath Your Sky, and the third song is called With Wings Aflame, so certainly, seems to be relevant to the music, but, just as an image, yeah, I don't know. For an image where the bird is this prominent, it pains me to say that I'm not really feeling it, but I'm not really feeling it. But musically, yeah, I do think this album's more my wavelength than what Skepticism was. I've already started to kind of forget Skepticism by the time I'm listening to Son of the Dying here. Because, this is less hypnotic, more just kind of moody, melancholy vibes. It's still very kind of slow-paced. In fact, it's kind of funny, the 4th song, The Greatest of Winter, kicks off with a kind of a Motorhead-ish, kind of frenetic, fast-paced drum beat, and then it just slips into that same kind of brooding and dark and slow vibe as everything else. So okay, great fake out. Yeah, it's enjoyable, but I gotta say that even so, it's still, for my tastes, kind of an uneven album, and it ultimately, I'm not sure I'm big on the entire album here. Particular, they put the longest song, Martyrs, at the very start as a 9-minute juggernaut, and it just, I don't think that's a particularly interesting opening to the album. I wasn't particularly feeling it. Now, the second song is immediately interesting because it's got a more, I would say, alt metal or nu metal almost energy to it by having these really chugging guitars and then squealing guitars. So that kind of surprises me, and it's got interesting vibes. And overall, it's the kind of harsh vocals for the most part that you expect for this more death doomy thing, and then with some big melodic segments that kind of give you melancholy vibes throughout. But yeah, it really, it's kind of hit or miss at times, if it really hits me. That second song's cool, third song was really, really cool. I thought, again, Greatest of Winter, maybe I got my hopes up from that drumming of oh, we're gonna do something really different for a bit here, and it didn't really pay off, so I didn't really enjoy that one either. But then, the final song of Absence, just another standout track. They certainly knew how to end this album. It's a really cool, and really big emotions, melancholy piece with some great interplay between, I think it's actual proper string instrument. It's not just a keyboard. Let me see. Let me quickly check. This band does not have a violinist or anything like that. So it does, but it does have keyboard. So it must, I guess, be that effect. But sure. So yeah, I definitely think that I recommend at least checking out the singles that have come off this album. Some of the choice songs are really great in this, and I give them thumbs up. But as an entire whole, it's not a terrible 40 minutes to listen to. No, obviously not. But I don't know if I have it in me to keep listening to the entire album in the future, I have to say. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm liking what this band's doing. I hope the next album is a little bit closer in line to what I might enjoy, I suppose. That's the final verdict. And this month we will be wrapping up with another re-release album here. This one not particularly old though. This is Wings of Steel and their debut album from 2023 called Gates of Twilight. So yeah, this only a couple years old, but as I understand this, it was originally just a self-released album, and the band has since signed on with High Roller Records, and as part of that and the release of their second album this year, High Roller re-released their debut album as well. So that's why it's now on my radar. Here we go. So this album cover and the bird. Well, there's Pegasi here, but you're probably not surprised to find out that Pegasi occupy the same spot as angels, as in not applicable for this show. Just because they have feathered wings, not good enough to feature an album on this show. So Pegasi go right there in the same box with angels. That it's gonna need to be like an actual more bird-like bird thing for me to, for the meter to swing far enough. Thankfully, this album cover does in fact have a proper bird. It's not very hard to find, even if it's a little bit small, because there is a silhouette of an eagle dead center top there, like above the gate, presumable gate of Twilight, the swirling galaxy vortex thing there. Just a nice old eagle silhouette. Pretty cool. That's a really nice rendering of an eagle. I don't think it really adds much to this image. This one could have done without it and would have still worked. I mean, I guess it kind of breaks up the image there at the top, so maybe that, is the function, but I think just having a swirling vortex at the top of this, stairway that ends in, this pillar gateway would have worked just fine. I don't know that the eagle really adds anything to it. So this is really one of those awkward cases where, yes, it qualifies for the show, but the actual bird element isn't particularly interesting. In fact, if we're perfectly honest, the rest of the image is pretty cool. Like I said that Pegasi don't qualify for this show, but that's not a value judgment of Pegasi themselves. Both of these look pretty cool, I like the black and white contrast between them. This image has some pretty cool contrast going as well. It's not exactly blue and orange, but it's like that metallic gray and orange, and orange is a kind of a dull orange as well. So it's really cool how they contrast, and I like the kind of nice chrome glowy wing effect going on with the bird wings of the two flying horses. So, overall, it's a pretty cool album cover. It's very old school, and it's very beautifully painted, and, what can I say? It's just fun, I'd say, So, it's a very good album cover, where, unfortunately, the bird is just kind of an afterthought, really. I don't know. But, very fun, very fun. Musically, this is our 80s worship album of this month, for sure. These guys are very much into, classic heavy metal on this album here. The most part, the energy is, I would say, Scorpions, or... what would I say? Scorpions or, Whitesnake. So, yeah, it kind of leans a little bit more to hard rock at times, which, if you want to say that that's not metal, fair enough. It's one of those hard corner cases. And so it's ballad heavy, kind of mid-tempo, mournful, wailing, but some, pretty cool guitar work mixed in all the same. So, it's all right. It doesn't grab me a whole lot, because that's just not my favorite area. It's not an actively disliked area, but it just comes off as basic stuff for me, unfortunately. There is some leanings towards more new wave trad heavy metal, new wave of British, but of course a bunch of bands all over the world now do it than just Britain, but Iron Maiden worship, I guess. There's a couple of songs which lean into that. And yeah, the second song, Fall in Line, actually kind of made me perk up after the opening, because that's what it went for, with the real galloping guitars. But and it's a pretty cool song, and that's more my speed. But that's less prominent here. More here and there on occasion you get that. I would say the final stretch of the album, the two songs are pretty great. The title track, Gates of Twilight, is another return to that more fast-paced, rocking, like real, wailing guitars work. And the final song, Into the Sun, is this... Well, it's another, more ballady mid one, but this one's got, kind of a Western vibe to it, and it's also got some cool, using the big old church bells. I think it's cooking a little harder than the rest of the songs on the album. So it's a nice finish, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not very hyped for this album, I'm sorry to say, but there's these occasions where okay, this band does show promise for sure, and they show definitely an ability for a lot of different kinds. They've got scope, they've got breadth in their music. Oh, and the vocals are also pretty neat. Also, your kind of standard air raid siren wailing kind of 80s singing. Not exactly. Maybe that one again leaning more towards the new wave music rather than more hard rock. So there's a lot of spice here. I would be happy to listen to the second album, which does not have birds on it, so that's why we're not featuring it. But this album, this band could be cooking harder in the future. This first attempt is an okay one, but it's not going to last with me personally. But yeah, something to look into, at least some individual songs for sure. And there we go. That was November of metal albums with birds on the cover for your listening pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a bit of a light one this month. It was a quiet month for releases of this persuasion, I guess. The Helloween concert report ended up eating up a huge chunk of this show. Oh well. Yeah, so let's talk about our favorites. Or, well, mine, really. You're welcome to tell me in the comments if you felt differently about anything. That's quite welcome. But yes, let's discuss this month what was my favorite album cover and what was my favorite album musically. And I think you guys can probably at home figure out both of the winners, because this month was kind of interesting in that I was kind of pretty middling on almost everything, but there was one album cover that I really loved, and there was one album music that I really liked. There were obvious things that stood out. And I want to make it clear that I'm also not intending to damn these either of these albums by faint praise, by the fact that the rest of the competition this month was sorta milquetoast, They really on their own were really fantastic, and I do think they were, were an easy shoe-in that sense. They could have done better even if it was a more competitive month, is what I'm getting at. So don't think I'm down on these ultimately. Yeah, the album cover, of course, was the Dungeon Synth album, Golden Plover, with Green as a Moss, A Golden Adventure. It's, all the other albums this month I was talking about, basically I was I don't really know about the bird being in this image. It could, you could have done this image without it and it would have been fine. Or then I was otherwise just unimpressed with the presence of the bird. But Golden Plover, it's just a delightful little image with, really, it's cute and it's also, very well colored, It's a very clear image that presents its fun little fantasy world very nicely. It speaks to what the album's going to be about. It completely sets the mood, and it just is very fun to look at. So Golden Plover is an easy win this month for the best album cover. Now, I still hesitate to elevate it to be my favorite album musically, so it is not that. Although it was fine. It was probably second best, I guess. There's also the fact that I have for several months now, I've wanted to nominate one of the new album releases to be my favorite and not look at the re-releases, which I don't mean to rip on the re-releases, but I guess in some sense I do want to highlight new music coming out. So I've been kind of trying to limit myself to that recently. But still, even talking about the music, I'd say that one of the couple of new releases this month was an obvious winner, because, Skepticism and Wings of Steel didn't super light me up, sadly. But, the one that got me good was Darktribe, Forgotten Reveries. It's the obvious choice in my mind for my favorite out of this selection. It, even as a power metal release, I was delighted by its variety. Its decision to we're doing a kind of a symphonic power metal thing, but then they actually switch it up and get a lot of modern metal elements, and I like both of those. So it's kind of fun to play with both of them in there. And yeah, it was kind of the brand of power metal that tickles my fancy, as you might have been able to surmise from that very long Helloween Beast in Black concert report. Yeah. So in that light, I don't really see why Darktribe would not be my favorite in this selection of albums this month. It's just cool to listen to, and I would definitely want to listen to I'd be happy to listen to the whole album again, at least a couple times, to get a feel for some of those really cool guitar and keyboard sequences in there. Is very delightful on that front. I do have to say, this is now the third month in a row where the very first album this month happened to be my favorite musically. Also, this is the second month in a row where a French band managed to cinch my number one spot. I swear there's nothing to read into here, everybody. It's a weird coincidence that it just happened that these things happen in consecutive order like this. It's just how it goes, I guess. Like a Darktribe just happened to pop off really nicely. I guess you could also say it's also, well, no, I don't know if Amorphous counts as power metal. But it's been very melodic power focused. Well, that one I can of course speak to my own biases. That's the kind of noodly metal that I like. So what are you gonna do? But yeah, weird little tendency here that it went like this. So yeah, but yeah, if you enjoyed any of these albums, it doesn't have to be the ones that I gave my number one spot to. If you enjoyed them, please look in the comments. Please look in the video description where you can find links to go support these bands and get their albums. And I promise it's worth your time and your money. Yeah. And also, right, yes, you'll also be happy to notice that now links are working in the comments again, unless it's once again changed recently, weirdly. But yes, I'm happy to report after this saga of being put into no history timeout by YouTube, that's now apparently over. It's fine. I guess I'm okay again, because the links are working. I checked that one day. Yes, I still gotta rag on YouTube here a little, not just for doing the shenanigan for me, but also I never got any sort of confirmation message from them once the probation period thing was over. If I did, it got super lost in spam, which I'm not a big fan of that either, but I don't think that's the case, because I have looked at that a little bit as well. It just seemed that one day, all of a sudden, everything was fine. So, okay, YouTube, but hey, whatever, that's good. So that means you can go and use the links if you wish to be a patron for one of these bands and their music. Please do consider that. But yeah, otherwise, this was delightful, and I hope you guys will tune in for December. I'm going to be super honest right away here. December is looking very light in terms of music. We kind of found that out already a year ago, when that was a pretty short episode. However, I have gotten more than one request for albums to do. Friends have recommended albums that I should actually talk about on this show. So I think once again, which I did at the end of last year, I'm going to do the same this year. We're going to have a nice proper length episode, because I have a few albums to discuss that were recommendations. So there'll be a little bit of a potpourri here of not so recent releases. And also, I don't know, I'm not going to make any promises at this point. It might turn out that that's almost all of the content is just recommendations and other re-releases, or maybe some kind of actual new release comes out. I don't know. As far as I can tell, December is a bad month in general for new music releases. I guess it's not the season or whatever. But in any case, we're still going to have an episode at the end of December on the turn of the year, and I hope you guys will pop in to listen to that. But for now, This has been Metal Albums with Birds on the Cover, November edition. Thanks for listening. Thanks for paying attention. Whatever. Have a good one, everybody.